What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Pulse. Are you ready to transform your workplace into an inclusive and thriving environment? In this episode of The Pulse, we'll dive into what that truly means and what it means to be an inclusive employer. We're going to explore 7 aspects of inclusion in the workplace. And as we journey through each aspect, you'll discover just how simple it is to cultivate an environment where everyone feels valued, respected, and empowered to contribute their best work. We'll also delve into the wide-ranging benefits that inclusive practices bring to organizations, from fostering innovation to creativity to enhancing employee morale and productivity. You'll see firsthand how prioritizing inclusivity can lead to tangible improvements in your company's bottom line and overall success. So without further ado, let's dive into this enriching exploration of inclusive employment right here on The Pulse. I want to start talking about what it means to be an inclusive employer. So we're going to look at 7 aspects of inclusion in the workplace. And as we go along, it will become increasingly clear how easy it really is to foster an inclusive environment. And we'll also talk about the benefits of inclusive practices to organizations more broadly speaking. So I want to start with diverse workforce. An inclusive employer recognizes the value of diversity and actively seeks to recruit and retain employees from diverse backgrounds, including those from different racial, ethnic, cultural, gender, sexual orientation, and socioeconomic backgrounds. So not just disability. They understand that diversity brings a variety of perspectives and experiences to the workplace, driving innovation and ultimately creativity. They know that having different perspectives makes the entire team stronger. The benefits of having a diverse workforce is that it brings a range of perspectives, experiences, and ideas to the table, which can lead to greater innovation and creativity. When employees from different backgrounds collaborate, they're more likely to come up with unique solutions to challenges and identify opportunities for growth and improvement.
Yeah, I think diversity in the workplace is very important, whether it is ethnic diversity or diversity of background, neurodiversity, physical diversity, because yeah, on top of like all the different experiences that get brought to the company that can really enhance the company. Also, the more diversity that's there, the more the new people coming in who are diverse feel like they belong. Because if you have one token diverse person, they're not going to feel like they belong. They're going to feel outside of the work community and not really attached to the company because they're the only one. Whereas if there's all sorts of different diversity in the company, when somebody new comes in, well, everybody's different. So they're not the only person who is different.
Yeah, exactly. And it eliminates marginalization of a specific person. Amazing. I love that. Another aspect is equal opportunity. And so an inclusive employer provides equal opportunities for all employees to succeed and advance within the organization based on merit and performance rather than biases or stereotypes, which of course is, something that many people do, even subconsciously. But an inclusive employer has fair and transparent hiring, promotion, and compensation practices and actively works to eliminate barriers to advancement and for underrepresented groups. Wow, that is a word. They are transparent about hiring, promotions, and pay. And they spend time to actively work on breaking down barriers for people who have been left out before. So they seek people who have been disadvantaged and they work to create opportunities for success. And the benefits to these organizations who do this, by providing equal opportunities for all employees, it promotes fairness and meritocracy within the organization. So you eliminate things like nepotism and favoritism. When employees know they have an equal chance to succeed based on their skills and performance, they're more likely to be motivated, engaged, and committed to their work. And this can obviously lead to higher morale, productivity, and retention rates. People want to stay in a place where they feel like they have an equal shot at success as their desk mate or the next guy over. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like I worked in one place. Unfortunately, the sensory environment ended up being too much for me. But my managers were really good with that, and like even they didn't even really consider like the amount of time that somebody had been there. They just looked at the work that you put into your job, and I got a lot more opportunities and a lot more responsibility than some of the other people who had been there longer than me, just because of the work that they saw that I was putting in, which then actually made me want to continue to work harder because I got those privileges. And yeah, so even like to the point of not considering how long somebody's been there, because maybe you have a new person who's working harder than somebody who's been there for 4 years. And just because they've been there for a long time doesn't mean that they're as much of an asset to the company.
Supportive policies and practices. So an inclusive employer implements policies and practices that support the needs of all employees, including those from marginalized and underrepresented groups. This might include things like flexible work arrangements, family-friendly policies, accommodations for disabilities, and inclusive language and communication practices. So allowing people to communicate via multiple different channels, what works best for the employee. They put policies in place that helps everyone feel included, like flexible hours, and family-friendly policies include just time off. Time off if your kid's sick. That needs to be a factor for parents especially. And accommodations for disabilities, of course. They make sure everyone feels heard and respected in how they communicate. And a benefit to the employer is by implementing supportive policies and practices, it demonstrates a commitment to employee well-being and satisfaction. Again, that's going to make people want to stick around longer and do their jobs better. Flexible work arrangements, family-friendly policies, and accommodations for disabled people can help employees balance their work and personal lives, which, as we know, is essential to not burning out. You want to make sure that you are fostering, especially if you're in a position of leadership, you're fostering an inclusive culture. Any thoughts there, policies?
Yeah, like having flexibility, especially like for my family, has been really important. And my mom, like she has the opportunity to work from home on days that we have appointments and we need her help with them. She can start at different hours as long as things get done by their deadline. Then her employer really doesn't care what time she gets in and what time she leaves. Some days she starts really early, some days she'll start at what is technically her starting time. But any environment where it's like, yeah, as long as the thing is done by the time, by this deadline, any environment where you're working like that, I think it's really easy to be flexible like that, and most places, especially since COVID, have had a way to allow their employees to work from home. So offering that in any environment where it's realistic is really good too, because whether you are somebody who might be supporting other people, or you're somebody who's neurodiverse and you are just not up for the commute into work one day, but you do a job that's doable from home. There are so many reasons that working from home as an option on occasion is a really good thing for a lot of people, even just for mental health reasons. Sometimes, just for mental health, being home in a more relaxed environment on occasion can be really helpful. And so,
Absolutely.
having those flexibilities can be really, really important.
Training and education. An inclusive employer invests in training and education programs to raise awareness about diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, and foster cultural competence among employees and leadership. This may include unconscious bias training, diversity workshops, LGBTQ plus sensitivity training, and others. They're all about learning and growing together. These employers tend to invest in training to help everyone understand and appreciate diversity, whether it's through workshops or, again, unconscious bias or sensitivity training for LGBTQ issues. And this benefits the employers because when they invest in training and education programs in DEI, it enhances cultural competence and awareness among employees and leadership. So, by educating staff on topics such as unconscious bias, including things like inclusive language, which, as we know, is extremely important, the companies can create more inclusive and welcoming environments where everyone feels respected and valued. And to your point previously, this can aid in supporting the mental health of your employees.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it also it can also give the employer a really good idea of who they might need to watch out for more as employees who might not be as inclusive. And this was really driven home to me when I recently did an autism training. And luckily, all of these people were really, really great and really open to learning. But there were definitely people who came into the training with some preconceived ideas around autism and what it looks like and how you should interact with autistic individuals. And I realized this from the questions they were asking, but then the way they responded to the training, it was really obvious that they were open to learning.
Creating a safe and respectful workplace is essential for employee well-being, morale, and productivity. Zero tolerance policies for discrimination and harassment send a clear message that such behavior will not be tolerated, fostering a culture of respect and accountability. Providing resources and support for employees who experience discrimination or harassment demonstrates a commitment to their welfare and contributes to a positive work environment.
Yeah, it's definitely really important to work in a place where you feel respected no matter who you are. If you feel like you're not respected in your workplace, whether it's by your boss or the people, the other employees around you, you're not going to be as productive because your whole day that you're there, you're going to be thinking about how you're not respected and worrying about how these people are going to treat you. So it's definitely really important to create that kind of atmosphere where everybody does feel respected.
Totally. Leadership commitment. So, an inclusive employer demonstrates leadership commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion by integrating DEI values into the organization's mission, vision, and strategic goals. This includes visible support from senior leadership, allocation of resources for DEI initiatives, and accountability for progress towards inclusive goals. The bosses are committed to making diversity, equity, and inclusion a part of the company's DNA. So leadership who lead by example are the ones that put money and resources into DEI efforts and hold themselves accountable for making progress. So they start with themselves and they start with other leadership and they make sure that it is a trickle down effect, that this is one of those things that starts from the top so that it is company wide culture and that they lead with this perspective. And the benefits to organizations that do this include so leadership's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. It sets the tone for the entire organization. When senior leaders actively prioritize DEI initiatives, it signals to employees that these values are an integral part of the company's mission and culture. Visible support and resource allocation and accountability for progress towards inclusive goals demonstrate a commitment to driving meaningful change and fostering a diverse and inclusive workplace overall for everybody there at the organization.
When you have a boss that treats everybody equally and doesn't stand for other people not doing the same, it makes a huge difference.
So finally, the last thing I want to talk about is community engagement. So an inclusive employer engages with the broader community to promote diversity, equity, inclusion, both within and outside the organization. So this might include partnerships with community organizations, partners or participation in diversity-focused events and initiatives, and advocacy for social justice issues. Overall, an inclusive employer recognizes that diversity is a strength and actively works to create a workplace culture where all employees feel valued, respected, and empowered to contribute their best work. They don't just focus on their own backyard. They're out there in the community too, spreading the message of diversity, equity, and inclusion. They partner with community groups, join in on events, and they speak up for what's right. And the benefits to organizations that do this, that take these proactive measures, are that engaging with a broader community to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion not only enhances the company's reputation, but it strengthens the relationships with stakeholders and customers, or the people that they engage with. By partnering with community organizations and participating in diversity-focused events, including advocating for social justice issues, companies demonstrate their commitment to making a positive impact beyond their own walls. So, I mean, all in all, an inclusive employer knows that having a mix of backgrounds and experiences is what makes the team awesome. They're about creating a vibe where everyone feels valued, respected, and ready to do their very best work. You want to show up for work. You want to show up and you want to do your best and you want to succeed. And that is good for everyone's bottom line. Any final thoughts?
No, I think you nailed it.
That does it for this week's episode of The Pulse. As always, if you have questions or ideas to discuss, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show, send an email to voa@pacificautismfamily.com. We look forward to more of your great questions. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.